Okay, what our group have is that some have a better understanding of the sutta background as the knowledge. Then we are exposed to the different meditation practice, the different methods of practice. Like for example, meditation on the body, we are exposed to so many different kinds of method in this workshop. And sister also says that she used to be practicing with the Mahasi and Power method. So during this workshop, she revised. It's a revision for her, going through the workshop. She also have a better understanding of Dhammanusati. She says she can do it more easier now. One sister said it is very difficult for her for the first few days, but as the beginning of first day, she sleep for the most of the day one of the workshop. He said it's a bit chim for her. Then, but as the workshop goes on, she was inspired by Bante's presentation, and she have the confidence to practice. The comments by a lot of sisters is that the guidance from Bante on the 31 parts of the meditation at the sala was very good for them. They can follow the Bante's guidance. Some have a broadened view of what is Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, and some feel that during the discussion it helps to straighten up the views during the discussion. For myself, I'm quite impressed with how the method of Bante, how he bisect the sutta, bringing all the different analyses, bringing all the sutta to do the comparison. So I find that very interesting. That's all.
So we talked a bit, and it seems that the idea was that quite a number of them say, well, we don't have much insights to. So a lot of them were quite quiet about it. And one said that well, at least now I can know what is this Dhamma in the Dhamma, body in the body thing, because she said, well, this Dhamma in the Dhamma, the body in the body thing used to drive me nuts. What does it mean? And then Venerable Saru came and translated as body in and of itself. Oh, that's even worse. So now she takes it to mean, that doesn't sound like how you put it, but anyway, it's for her, she said it works for her, is that body means it's body alone. Feelings is feeling alone. So that's her takeaway. Then another one was saying that there's more faith in her and about in how she's practicing right now, because as Bante was saying that, well, there are many ways of how we can go about in the practice. Right? Can we do it this way and that way? So she feels that she has more faith right now, that her way, the way that she's been doing it's okay. So long as it works, so long as it helps her to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, so long as helps her to be free. So that's that I find quite practical for me too. Then another person, I forgot what the other person said. Let me see if I can recall. Can you help me, please? What's the other thing that BR? What did you say?
For these workshops, we exposed to a different Satipaṭṭhāna's suttas from different sects, and we understand that also that this sutta might not be the originals of the Buddha word, and however the group also feel that whatever it is, as long as we practice it and could brings peace, could brings less sufferings, and eventually is less detachment, there is also the right practice. Additionally, also, yeah, we would like to thanks to the Bhantes. Definitely, there is a lot of hard work has been put in getting all the materials and getting more understanding from different suttas, basically, which makes the thing is clearer. What is samadhi? What is vipassanas? So from our groups, we would like to thanks to Bhante as well as Bhante Kumara. They guided us just now, and as well as to the whole of the teams and volunteers that making this course and workshop is possible. Thank you.
There is also a concern raised that since this sutta can be kind of not so authentic, so that there was a concern about that in the group, that some of them didn't feel very comfortable about that. That it could be what I would call a patchwork. And for me, if this sutta is a patchwork, and it seems very much so based on evidence, then the question that comes up to my mind is that if a person were to assume that this is completely, purely unadulterated words of the Buddha, then he were to try to form his practice accordingly, then wouldn't it be confusing for him? The question is, if a person were to assume this sutta to be pure, unadulterated words of the Buddha, completely, rather than to understand that it could be put together.
It's probably put together.
It's probably put together. Then he tries to form his practice according to it completely. Then wouldn't it be confusing for him?
Yeah. That's a good question. That's why we have this workshop, to deconstruct any preconceived ideas of how authentic it could be. Right? So when you put in some doubts, then you become less arrogant and more humble. Okay? All right, anyone? Next one, group number 8, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So basically, we think that this workshop has give us a very a good understanding of what Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta is and how to practice it. I'm not saying this to make Bhante happy. Sincerely, we really do think that way. And it lays the overall foundation on how we should practice. And obviously, we should continue practice after this. And my experience is how I used to practice is I used to label all my thoughts as thinking. After attending this workshop, I realized that there's more depth and scope in thinking instead of just merely thoughts. So it makes it much more interesting. And we also realize that Bhante is very knowledgeable and open-minded, which also reminds us that we should keep an open mind while we are practicing. And the conclusion is very similar to what Bhante Kumara has just said. Since it has concluded that this sutta is a compiled work, but not the actual words of the Buddha, so what other sutta is the same?
What other sutta is?
Are actually the same. All of them are actually compiled.
Okay. All of them are actually...
Yeah? So
we don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, but then, if you're a scholar monk, you can sort of make comparisons. And this one, because of so many inconsistencies and so many redundancies and so many contradictions, it becomes very apparent that it's a patched up work. Other suttas are not that obvious.
I see.
Right.
Anyway, Bhante, thanks a lot for your time and effort. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for for providing the causes and conditions for me to do the research and improve on the slides with every workshop. Okay, next please. Number 7.
there are a number of us in the group who have just practiced with one technique and have problems with it. So actually this workshop gives them the confidence that if they are stuck with one, then they have other choices. And in fact, they have found this useful because they're able to practice the other choices, exercises. And also feels that now they have more tools, basically from the Satipaṭṭhāna exercises to choose from and the tips on how to practice. For example, one participant says that now she can identify what she experiences, what she has actually experienced. At least she knows what she's experiencing. And the techniques and tools given are pretty relaxing, so that also helps in the meditation. And one brother mentions that he had a pretty good deep samadhi from the in one of his practices. Within seconds, he could get very deep samadhi. And so he has got inspiration from this workshop. Okay, thank you very much.
Sadhu. Number 6, please. Group number 6.
We actually were quite impressed and thankful for the effort Bhante has put in. The course structure and the course content is absolutely wonderful. Overview has given us a lot of easy understanding as it develops, and your slides has taken us many times distance shortened to understand what's going on. We appreciate the body of references that Bhante has gone through, and the interpretations are so personal that he's shared directly with us for the first, this is a 7 group, but for the first time here, he's sharing with, with us here his personal research in this sutta. And through all the few days here, what's the impact on our group members? They have listed a few items individually. I will go through them one by one. But one interesting point came out here was there were more questions now than before they came in. So a lot of work to do individually. Okay, another participant in the group says that the information provided gives understanding, and is mentioned that it's the first time he knew what the 4 Satipaṭṭhānas are. So, of course, spending time here is definitely enriching, and the ideas of how to put those trainings suggested into practice is what he would like to continue with. And the practical guiding in the practice is wonderful, because when you come to Asubha, most of us would not want to do it alone. So one of the participants here felt that the Asubha practice gave him a release with non-self. I don't know where he is now. He's not here.
No
Okay.
self.
The broad-based approach given here has given the idea to one of the participants about investigation in the whole practice, which actually is being prompted by the patch and paste issues. So this participant has done some meditation before and stopped for a while because it couldn't gel. And now with this clarification given, it finds that it's much more happier and much more relief, and would continue then on the search in the practice. That's wonderful, isn't it? That comes to the last item. Suttas are not reliable, so not to be taken in full faith. I don't know whether it's completely, whether it's across the board, but then this has given us a caution. Personally, I think we should do investigation, not only on the suttas, but also our own progress. All right, thank you,
Our
Bhante.
group learned from this workshop must have right attitude to face hindrances during meditation, provide more option to practice, learn to be more humble and more critical when studying sutta. Samatha and vipassana support each other, right input for knowledge that leads to wisdom, a skillful and competent teacher in Pali text and meditation is important. Comparison of 7 major texts on Satipaṭṭhāna increase faith on our practice. As long as the sutta helps to progress spiritually regardless of its authenticity. 32 parts of the body contemplation is very new. Certain practice is suitable to different individuals. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
One of our sisters mentioned that the best part of this program is the pictorial part of the 32 parts. So one of it is also Bhante help us to look oneself as the skeletons. Because a lot of time we look at the skeletons. So during the meditation, he helped us to view ourselves as the skeletons. A brother also mentioned how to dissect the body parts. I think it's very different from what we see from our bodily every day. So the true self of ourselves is being dissected, the body parts, the hair being removed, then the eyes, the facial, slowly down the body, then to the limbs, all that. So it gives us a very different perspective of us. I mean, it also helps us to identify the I. Okay, and then there's one of the sisters also mentioned that this course helped her to walk out of the jungle. Not just all and 4 method, any of the 4 method also can goes towards liberation. There's also know how to incorporate samatha into vipassana. Example, the 32 parts of body. There's discrepancy of the sutta based on the 4 days. So according to Kalama's Sutta, the Buddha mentioned there's always we have to check. Then it's not because we always hear from yogis or any practitioner say that, oh, this is the exact words of the Buddha. So from the 4 days, actually, we know that some of the parts is like a copy and paste. So one of the sisters also mentioned through samatha, she see the 3 characteristics that she also see when she developed samatha. There's this peace which she's clinging on. Then it also leads to suffering. 3 steps to samadhi, which is very helpful to most of us. From the 6 senses, the observing of the 6 senses, to relax, check the body, then check your mind. Where are you? What are you doing? We also have better understanding for a new meditator. One of the sisters mentioned that she's always blur in the past. So now she knows how to contemplate the body, feeling, mind, and Dhamma. The 4 R's, that actually we have to remember what is being taught. That, it's not easy to gather all the information. It requires a lot of studies. Bhante Akachita and Bhante Kumara, or even more, to compile all this. Then again, we have to recollect what we have learned, what the teachers has instructed. Then also we have to remind ourselves to practice. Not just these 4 days, just here drilled by Bhante. Then we have to continue. That we also have to remind that it's never easy to born as a human. So we have to continue to practice. Then lastly is the retrospect on how to relate to the 6 senses. Actually, our group have we have 5 R We have to repeat listening to, probably there's CDs from Bante's.
Repeat.
Okay, thank you all.
Sadhu.
Thank you, Bante.
This workshop has been an eye-opening experience. Although one of our members has done meditation before, but found this way to be so liberal and so interesting. Since there are so many ways, one cannot get bored. Okay, one can always pick another method if you are bored with one method. And she no longer thinks that meditation is punishing. You cannot move, you must not pain, you know, or in whatever circumstances. Another member has found that says that now he can see the entire 4 foundations and how they are integrated. It also reinforces that there are many ways for meditation, not just one way. And the purpose of going for retreat is basically to become transformed. If one method doesn't work for you, then you have to look for another method. It also focuses some of our participants' attention to pay attention to important aspects of the Satipaṭṭhāna practice, which we may not be aware before. For example, in the refrain, we talk about internal, external, both internally and externally. We stick with this because the others could be cut and paste. This one is across the board. And the other aspect is the definition piece, which says being ardent, clearly knowing, being mindful and having subdued longing, etc. Right? So we also find that this sets the prerequisite for properly practicing the 4 Satipaṭṭhānas. Big sadhu to another member who mentioned that she has done the practical bit of letting the mind go without fixing on one object, and the member has experienced samadhi, which she defines as stillness in the body and mind for the first time. Sadhu to the member. Another member said that she has learned to let go of suffering, understand how important is this sadhana practice to let go of the suffering. Another member has taken on the tag that there is a systematic way to gain samadhi. Instead of a haphazard, there's a systematic way to gain samadhi. It also clarifies some aspects of personal practice and provide a lot of encouragement to investigate the sutta and also check whatever sutta that you have with your own practice. Last but not least, you cannot just practice, you also need the theory. Our group would like to record the deep thanks to Bante for such in-depth research and work. It must have taken Bante a lot of time to do all this. The academics in the team love the way that Bante research. It's very holistic and also very analytical. For example, the 32 parts of the body, and also the word samadhi. No, it's actually not one word, it's actually 3 words. And it gives us a lot of confidence and feel much closer to the Buddha's words from Bante's workshop. Thank you very much.
Our group consists of some seasoned meditators and also some fairly new to meditation. So this workshop has actually provided some further clarification of certain terms and also some new concepts to some people. For example, the word sati itself, the meaning itself of remembering, remind, serve as to kind of remind her to remember it regularly and not act on automatic pilot like most of us do. So the understanding of sati itself helps to in the daily practice. Also, I think it's been mentioned, like in other groups, the various options and alternatives give one many options, and this knowledge provides confidence for someone new to try methods which have some evidence base that it works. And also for some meditators who have learned various techniques from various teachers, who have come to a crossroad that which one actually works and which one actually does not, or can be confusing. So I guess this workshop clarifies certain doubts. There's also some discussion regarding the time allocated for theory and practice in this workshop. Is it balanced, the theoretical aspect versus the practical aspect? But I guess this is a study, so we can't have more time. I guess it serves as an impetus for those to further practice and gain experiential insight from the theory that you have learned. So it's very good. And there's also a request from one of the members as well, whether this should be followed up by a retreat, just mainly concentrating on the practical aspect. And yeah, but I suppose we can all do this on our own time, and it serves that is important to have experiential insight and not just understanding the theory. And also about the open awareness versus focused awareness, the explanation and clarification that it helps still the mind, and it does help progress in the path, and not just one-pointedness as been explained before. So and how the investigation comes when you look into the causes and conditions, and not just the stilling of the mind aspect. So overall, I think it. Oh yeah, there's the other thing about some question brought up whether it should be that for someone new, is it appropriate to just come for this workshop first before you actually go into, dive into the practice? I think most of us actually practice, just like Bhante pointed out in the very beginning, that all of us are very compliant and we just listen and we don't analyze. And so for someone new who has not meditated and you have this basic understanding already, then you would probably have a better choice or to choose, yeah. But I don't know whether you should have the theory first before you practice, or you should have both first, or you should practice first and then the theory comes later. But, thank you.
One person mentioned that as a result of seeing the relationship between mind and body, he is able to know anicca, dukkha, and anatta more clearly, as in theory. Second, sister mentioned that by knowing the first three awakening factors, when we use it in the 4 Satipaṭṭhāna practice, then we will be able to see the other 4 awakening factors. That to her seems like it becomes easier for her to practice. One sister mentioned that the open awareness practice is very easy for her, because it helps her when the mind goes to the 5 senses, and it helps her calm down the mind pretty quickly. And we also find out that there are actually a lot of ways to liberation. So to us, it's quite a happy situation, because we don't have to stick to a particular method. There's a lot of methods going around. Okay, the slides on the corpses and accidents, the people who died in accidents, the body parts, are wake-up call for many of the team members, because out of that they see the urgency to practice in order to gain liberation and this suffering. And one last point, I actually came to this workshop with a goal. Having gone through a lot of other discussions, listening to other Dharma talks from other venerables, I sort of come to this workshop with the goal of finding something definite out of this Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. A lot of venerables, a lot of teachers are saying contradictory statements, and I've come to accept that Visuddhimagga doesn't jive with what Sutta is teaching, but I have not prepared myself to come into terms that actually in the Sutta itself there's a lot of contradictory teachings as well. So for the first few days it's sort of like a disappointment for me because I do not get something definite. But at the end of it, it feels humbling because I see that the concept of, or the reality of anicca is actually going on, even with the teaching of the Buddha. So after 2,500 years, I can't really expect the teaching to remain unchanged throughout this long time. So that's actually one humbling aspect that I take out from this workshop. So thank you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you. Sadhu, sadhu.
Bhante, just like to say something what Sunit said just now. I think it can be definite of that. It's definitely not definite.
It's encouraging for the past few days to see brothers and sisters so eagerly the studies in the workshops and come out to share openly, open-mindedly, and also actively, voluntarily sharing. Is indeed very encouraging from the institute for an institute they're doing educations, especially on Buddhist educations. I went back to Bhante and said probably we should change another sutta because Satipaṭṭhāna could be a bit too heavy and the durations could be a bit too short for the impact. But Bhante gave me a lot of confidence. He said, no, I'll do it, and I have confidence and faith that it will be done properly. So thank you, Bhante, for the encouragement. Bhante has actually conducted 6 other workshops throughout, not only in Klang Valley, but in Penang, Sabah, Sarawak, Singapore, Johor, and the last one is in SBS. So a total of 7 workshops within 5 months, and there's over at least 500 participants have benefited from the workshop. So Mahasadu again to Bhante for all the efforts. Good indications that we are on the right tracks, and people are actually eagerly wanted to know and learn from this sutta itself. But what Bhante have done throughout the 4 days or throughout the 7 workshops have put in a lot of efforts in the deconstructions. But subsequently, a lot of efforts more for us to put in to reconstruct back on our faith and the spiritual progress in terms of our spiritual developments. We would like to have the knowledge and visions that Bhante have been emphasizing throughout the slides, and we also want to be transformable from a noble person to an Arya. It's possible. There are also a few sharings that talk about investigations and whether this sutta is authentic. It's true, a lot of things we have to be also put in a lot of efforts into investigations. Like one of the brother was shared from the Kalama Sutta, Ehe Pasiko, that's the words that the Buddha have encouraged us, investigates in what had been taught, but rather taking what had been given. So with that, on behalf of Nalanda Institute, we thank Bhante again for all the efforts and all the work done, studies, and all the research for the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta workshop. Once again, I would like to have the congregations join us to say Mahasadu and Anumadana. Bhante.